Yeah, great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Fergus.
You get the recording going then.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks everybody for logging in today. Katrina Whelan from NALA is going to be presenting on the Learn with NALA. It's the new Right On, and she's going to be telling you all about it. So I hope you enjoy the webinar. And for anyone who's just joined in the last few minutes, we've asked you that for questions. Katrina's going to keep everybody muted during the webinar, but if you scroll down to the bottom of your toolbar, you'll see a word questions written on the toolbar. Yeah, down there where the word chat is, you'll see questions. And if you go over to the edge of that, you see the little box with the arrow pointing out up. You can click on that box. It opens it up in the middle of your screen, and you can write in your questions. You can see questions there from John O'Driscoll and Fergus Dolan. So you can write in your questions there during the webinar or at the end, and Katrina then will read out each question and deal with them as they come. So you can mute me, Katrina, and I hope you enjoy the webinar.
Okay, thanks very much, Fergus. And yeah, I'm just letting everybody know that this webinar is being recorded, so I hope that that's okay. If you have any issues with it, please let me know. We'll be publishing the webinar afterwards on the events page. As Fergus said, you're welcome to type questions into the questions box, and I'll go through them at the end. There's also an option to put up your hand, and I can give you the microphone, and you can ask the question as well. So there'll be two ways that we'll go through the questions at the end. I'll try and finish up about 1:45, and then, as I say, go through the questions at that point. If it's okay with everybody, I'm going to keep the slideshow in this format here, with the slides not in slideshow view, because I'm going to be dipping in and out of the actual site itself, as well as the slides. So it's just a little bit easier to manage if I have it in that view. I hope that that's okay with everyone. Okay, so you're very welcome to this today, and thank you very much for giving your time. This hopefully will be useful for anybody who has signed up as a centre and has a tutor account, or anybody that's interested in becoming a centre and knowing what the platform is about. Our new platform is called Learn with NALA, and this replaces Right On, and it looks like this here as shown on the slide. Unfortunately, Right On won't be resurrected, and there won't be an opportunity to do so anymore. It has unfortunately gone for various reasons. It is over 10 years old, which is a long time in the software world. But the platform that we are using now is called Brightspace, and the name we've put on it for anybody accessing it is going to be called Learn with NALA. And Brightspace has been provided to us by a company called D2L, who are based in Canada. And there was quite a long tendering process to get to them. But we're very excited about working with them, because they're also providing e-learning platforms to a lot of universities here now in Ireland, including UCD. So it does mean that if there's learners who are going on with their learning journey and into college, and that maybe using this platform now would be something that will stand to them later on, because they'll get familiar with it, and then we'll be seeing it, you know, later on in their learning journey. So today, what I'm going to go through is how you can get started as a centre, so what you need to do. Then once you are set up as a centre, how you would create an account for a learner. Then the learner would need to register for a course. So it's a two-step process to get started, to create an account and then to register for a course. And you may want to register for multiple courses. So I'll show you how to do that. And then once you've signed up the learner for a course, then how would the learner get started on a course? And then finally, what's the tutor view? So unlike Right On, now you'll have a tutor account, and that will give you access into the platform to be able to see learners' progress on a course level. So the first thing to note is if you are a centre and you're interested in registering to use the new platform, the advantage for being a registered centre is that you will get this tutor access. That wasn't something that we had before. It also means that if learners are doing work for QQI awards using the platform, we can get in contact with you as centre tutors if there is any issue with their work. And the whole process happens a lot more quickly. Previously on Write On, there was an option called None, N-O-N-E, and there were some centres that were signing up as that. We had no visibility that those learners were in a centre. And sometimes it meant that even if a learner had done work or we're trying to get an award to them, sometimes we couldn't get hold of them because we didn't know that they were in a centre. So we've changed the process now to make it hopefully easier for centres to sign up. And the first step that I would recommend in getting signed up is to sign up for our e-zine. Now, I will send everybody who's attended today these slides at the end, and there's a link for this e-zine that you can get. And in the e-zine, there will be a lot of information about the new platform, which will include a link to this memorandum of understanding. So previously, if you were a centre using Write On, you or one of your colleagues might have had to have filled out a registration form for Write On. So we have a new form now called this MOU, and you can either email Elaine at mou@nala.ie to get access to the MOU, or if you sign up to the e-zine and click on the link and fill it out, you can send it to Elaine. Okay, so you can either scan it in or take a photograph of it, or Elaine will also give you a Word version of it that you can fill out as well. Okay, so once you get the MOU to us, then we have to process that and that then get you set up as a new centre on our Learn with NALA website. Apologies to some centres if they're experiencing a bit of a delay in getting set up. We've had quite a backlog of centres to get through that we're trying to get through. So we will be contacting you if you put in your MOU in the coming weeks to give you access to the platform. Prior to filling out the MOU, or perhaps in tandem with it, you can also make sure that your membership is up to date. So there's no fee for learners to use the platform, but we do ask that centres pay either a small or large organisation fee, and you can contact Margaret Murray at mmurray@nala.ie to find out if your membership is up to date or how you would go about signing up as a member. And then the last part would be to take part in training. We've put in there both online and face-to-face. At this point, it's unlikely face-to-face will happen for quite some months. So we're doing these online webinars, and there'll be another one coming up in June. And again, you could find out about these events by going to our NALA website and scrolling down to up and coming events, and you'll be able to register in there for any webinars that are to do with Learn with NALA. So when your membership is complete, when you've completed the MOU and sent it to mou@nala.ie, then you will receive an email from us saying that you've been set up. The other thing that we ask that you send in along with your MOU is a logo. Now, ideally, if you can send in a logo that's of size 1200 pixels by 240, that would be great. If not, that's okay, because what we'll do is we'll take your logo and we will make it into a banner, and this will appear on the page for your learners. So what we've done with the new platform is, although we're calling it Learn with NALA, we recognise that the learners are your learners and you're the ones that are helping them get through the content. So we've given you ownership of the platform by putting your logos up, so that learners feel that they're learning, with you and through your centre as well. So some centres maybe don't have a logo, and we can make one for you as well. So don't worry if you don't have one, but just, I suppose, bear in mind that if you have a very wide logo or a very long one, we'll be trying to put it into these dimensions for the banner that will appear. As part of the centre registration, then once the MOU and the logo has gone in, or if we make one for you, then you will get an email that'll look something like this. So it'll tell you that your centre is set up. You'll get a very long link, and I'll show you a way to shorten that link in a minute. We'll give you some supports to help you get started. So there'll be a number of videos that you'll be able to look at. There'll be a getting started guide that'll explain in a nutshell how to get started. And we'll also give you your own tutor login name and password. Automatically, we'll create a tutor account for all centre contacts that are listed on the MOU. So typically that's 1 or maybe 2 people. If you have other tutors, then you can also name them on the MOU and put in their email addresses, and we can set them up as well. At the moment, we're trying to just limit the number of tutor accounts to 5, because it does take a bit of time to set up the tutor accounts as well. So if you have more than 5 tutors, contact me separately, and we can see what we can do about it. We may need to look at sort of membership levels if it's a lot of tutors as well. But yeah, if you have at least 5 tutors, you can name them on the MOU, and we can add them in as tutors as well. And then just the last part that you'll notice is that there's a link down here which you get as a tutor login. Okay, so it's going to be slightly different to what I'll show you in a second for the learner getting started. And then the final part is in this email that will give you a link to any webinars that are happening. You also get a link to our free phone. So we recommend, if you have any questions, to call us on our free phone number, which is 1-800 20 20 65. And there's always somebody there between 9:30 and 5, Monday to Friday. And if you ring outside that time, you can leave a message and we'll call you back as soon as we can. I'll also be putting this link here, which is a Google form that you can use to report any issues. And I'll collect the feedback in that periodically as well. Okay, so that's the centre email that goes out as a result of the whole MOU process. And in that email, as I say, you'll get a link to a specific page which is for your centre. Okay, so you can tell your learners that they will be logging in with this specific link. Now, just to demonstrate this, I'll just pull this across here. So for example, here's one that I've already set up. Okay, so what you'll note is that the link starts with courses.nala.ie, then there's a long piece to it here, and then there's this code at the end. And this is the code that is specific for your centre. So if I scroll down here, what you'll note is that there's only one centre listed here, Dóchas den Uige in this particular example. Okay, so previously on Write On, we would have had a long list of up to 190 centres, and any learners would have to scroll through the list and find their centre and then register for them. Or some of them, as I say earlier, would have registered as centred none. So to try and simplify the process now, we're giving the centre tutors a specific link for the learners to go to. Okay, and then there should be no confusion that they're just signing up for that particular centre. That is quite a long link. So what I do recommend is using something like tinyurl, or there's different Goo, which is another shortener as well. But what you can do is you can copy the link there from your centre and then put in make tinyurl. Okay, and what it does is that it'll take that long link that you're given an email and it'll give you something that's a little bit shorter. Okay, and there's different ones there. So that might be a help. I will show you then the link that you can use if you're the one that's creating the account yourselves. So you may be doing that for the learner, and then the learner can bypass all of this. Okay, but that's an option that's there for you, and there's a link to it in the slides as well. Okay, so once you get your center link, then to create a learner account, so I'll create one here. So we'll put in a username and a password. Okay, and the learner will need an email. Okay, so you may decide to use a Gmail account. If you wish, they will need an email, and the email will have to be unique for each learner as well, because if the learner forgets their password, we need a way to be able to contact them to let them set up a new password. Okay, so then we'll just put in first name of the learner. So in this case, it's learner 22, and the address. Okay, and you will need the learner's PPSN. Now, previously, we only gathered the PPSN at the end of the learner journey. For learners who are not affiliated to ETBs, we will have to put learner details onto the SOLAS database PLSS. So as a result of that, we do need the PPSN up front. And just to keep the process simple, we're actually looking for everybody's PPSN up front so that we're not having to have different pages. So just to bear that in mind, the learner will need to give their PPSN up front. Okay, so if I put in a date of birth, and then down here, there is terms of service and a privacy policy to go to. So the learner can click on the link. Okay, and there's a video that's here that explains the details that are below here and what it means, and also explains how to go back to the other tab so that they can complete the box. And the same for the privacy policy. There's a video there and explains how to go back here. So we want to be very, transparent and make sure that learners are aware, what it means to use this platform. Okay, so we're asking for their consent, explaining what's involved, and then click on Create Account, and the account is created. Now, this is the first step involved in getting a learner started. Okay, the second step is then they have to register for courses. So to register for a course, you could decide, which particular course you want a learner to start with. So say it's level 2 reading. At the moment, we just have level 2 ones here. There will be level 3 ones coming out in July. If we get them ready sooner, we'll let you know up here when they're available. So to start with, say the level 2 ones that are here, I click on register now. And what you'll note is that there's account details down here, and it says that this learner, this particular one, is signed up for level 2 reading. Okay. So you may want to, if you're helping a learner to do this over the phone, you may want them to register for multiple accounts, for multiple courses at this point. So what you can do is you can use the back button to go back, and then click on another course. We'll say writing. Okay, and now they've registered for writing as well as reading, and go back again, and then pick, say, quantity and number. And then say pattern and relationship. And we'll pick one more using technology. Okay, so this particular learner test account has signed up now for 5 out of the 6 courses that are available. And then for that learner to get started, they would click on clicking here. Now, what that does is it'll bring you to a page where the learner needs to log in. If the learner if you're creating the account for the learner, then you can give them the login details that you've created for them, and then they can type it in. So for example, this one was test user 22. And then the learner is brought into the e-learning platform, okay? So it's important to think of this platform in two parts. There's the outer part where you create the account and you register for courses, and then the inner part where the actual e-learning is itself. And this part is Brightspace, okay? So the first thing that you'll see is a banner like this, which should map to your actual center. So in this case, it's a test center that I've set up, but this is where your logo would go in. The courses that this learner has signed up for is available under My Courses. So in this case, I've signed them up for 5 courses. And this whole page here is the home page for the e-learning platform for Brightspace, okay? So there should be an announcement down the bottom. So anytime we're publishing something new or making updates, we can put an announcement in here. There's also a video here that's available to play, and you can enlarge it by clicking on the square button that will explain all of what I'm explaining here and how to get started with a particular course. So that video is there for the learner. And then for a learner to get started, they can click on a course, and then they're brought to the home page of the course, okay? So this will also have a video that will explain what this course is about. In this case, it's pattern and relationship. And will also explain how you can see the material or the content then within the course. So it will explain that to get started, you click on content, which is this book symbol. And then you're brought to this lessons page, okay? So previously, if you're familiar with Write On, we had a page that looked like a lot of ladders, and there was a little icon that used to move up and down the ladders as the learner was progressing. And the learner would start at the bottom of the ladder and move their way up to the top of the ladder. So moving their way up represented moving through the content. So you could think of that page being like this. This is our lessons page. In this case, the lessons are numbered here. So they actually would need to start at the top and work their way to the bottom. What you will note is at level 2, we would have had assessments. So we would have had an initial assessment and a summative assessment on Write On. We don't have assessments launched yet. We just want learners just to get in, get familiar with the new platform, go through the content, and then when we have some assessments ready, we'll launch them and we'll let you know through the e-zine and through the platform that the assessments will be there, and learners then can use those assessments to get a QQI award at level 2. So for the moment, what's there are just purely the lessons. All of these would map to a QQI learning outcome at level 2. So for example, we recommend in the instructional videos to get started on the first lesson by clicking on the lesson and clicking on Start Here. So the content within the lesson is going to look like this. There's a speaker symbol here that when I click on it will play text to speech, and that will read out the text that's here. There's also a video at the start of every lesson that will explain a little bit about what the learner will see in the lesson and give an example of how to do one of the activities within the lesson. So we say that lessons are made up of screens like this that the learner can progress through by clicking on Next. And then there's some text that they can read. And then there's some activities for them to try. At any time, the learner can decide to go back by clicking on previous or forward by clicking on next. So a lot of the activities are similar to what you would have seen on Write On. So for example, this type of activity is what we call a drag and drop. So the videos at the start of the lesson recommend that the learner would click on one of the items on the left that they need to drag into the right box on the right. And in pulling it across, just to position it at the top of the box there that they think it goes into. Now, when I click and release with my mouse, then it falls down into the box. So again, it's to click on the item, drag it across, just position it at the top of the box and release. Apologies. And it should fall down into the box. Okay, like that. So what a learner can do at any time is then they can check their answers when they've completed it. Okay, and they'll get a score. They can click on try again, and that will give an opportunity to do this whole activity again, or they can click on next activity to move to the next activity. So as you'll see, a lot of the activities are like this kind of drag and drop type one. Okay, so in this case, they have to drag 3 things into one box and 3 into another. Now, if they were working through this and they felt they made a mistake, they can always swap things around, or they can click on clear answers and that will clear it and they can start again. Okay. So I can move things around a little bit if I like. Then click on check answers and I get my score. Okay. Again, this is another one of these drag and drop, again with images. So I position it into the box. And let go. And then I can check my answers and I get a score. There are some new activity types that we didn't have on Write On. For example, this type of one, which we call sequencing. And in this case, what the learner has to do is to match the pictures on the bottom with the words on top. So they do that by, again, clicking on an item and dragging it along and then releasing it so that it's in the right place. Now, in this particular case, everything has gone into the right place. So there's all green bars. So let me just try it again. Okay, so what you'll see now when I'm trying it again is that 2 of them are in the right place, but 3 of them aren't. And the goal is to try and get all green bars along the bottom. So I might do like this, and now it's correct. Note that in this type of activity, there's no score. But I think it's nice for learners to sometimes try activities that's not always about a score as well. So they're getting a positive feedback, but it's in a different way. We won't have this type of activity in the assessments because it is a new activity type for learners. So when the assessments are launched, they will have more of the standard drag and drop and multiple choice question type activities. Okay. What is new for this platform as opposed to Write On is that there's an option, if I click back here, to dip in and out of the content. Okay, so I would recommend for yourselves as tutors, when you get your tutor account, you'll be able to go in and look at all these lessons as I'm looking at them here and get familiar with what's in it. So, for example, you might decide to focus on a particular type of activity. Maybe it's numbers in everyday life, and you can click into that and then do the actual activity. And you could instruct the learners how to go back to content, which is also provided in the videos, and then they could move to another type of activity. This one here is our second new type of activity called hotspot. So in this example, the learner has to look for particular groupings of things. So if I click on the chairs, so there's 4 chairs there, then there's a question that comes up and I answer the question and it tells me that I got it correct. And it'll note below then that there's 1 of 4 things to find. So it's like a little task-based mission. So then they would have to go and click on other things. And find more things within the hotspot. Okay, so that's an example of another question type. At any time, I can click out of this by going back to content. And it brings me back to the lessons page. And I can close the lesson by clicking on it and open another one by clicking on it. And I can decide where I want to move within it. I can see my progress by clicking on the lesson. And there's these ticks that show that I've visited those activities there as well. Okay. So just to go back to my slides again, I've mentioned that what you will get is a very specific link. So that's the link that you go to create your account. That you can shorten that link by using the likes of tinyURL. And if a learner is not in a centre, then they can simply log in by themselves as an independent learner and go to log in on this page. If you are creating the accounts for the learners, once the account is created, it's simply a matter of, if I log out here, of just going in to, say, Google Chrome, I recommend. I'm going to learn.nala.ie. Okay, so you might have created the account for the learners, as say, and then you can simply point the learner to this page, so they don't need to go near the courses part at all. The other way that you can get to this page is if you go to nala.ie and scroll down to the bottom and go to login, and that'll bring you to the same page. Okay, so then the learner can type in their details and get started. This is the same page that you will be directed to as a tutor as well. So as a tutor, you don't have to register for any courses. You'll be automatically enrolled into all the courses that are available. But as a learner, we've given you the option that you can decide what courses learners can start on by having that registration process. So just a few other things to note. So we've mentioned about the branded centre homepage. So this is that logo that you'll see, and that there are some videos. So they're available on the home pages and within each lesson as well. There are some new question types. So we've seen the sequencing one and the hotspot one. And then we've created some badges for each course as well. So if I return here to my course and go into the likes of, say, pattern and relationship, what I'll see here is if I click on awards, under my awards will be the awards that I've already earned, but this is a new account, so we know that this learner hasn't done anything. Under available awards, they'll see what's available to them in this particular course, okay? So what we've done is we've created these little badges, so each time a learner gets through a block of content, they will get one of these badges. And I think this is going to be very useful when we get to the likes of maths at level 3, where there's an awful lot of learning outcomes, which means there's an awful lot of content to get through, that this would be a nice reward mechanism for people. Obviously, it's not the QQI award, but it's just something to acknowledge the fact that somebody is progressing through it. So if I log out here for a minute and log in with an account that I created earlier, and now go to the likes of pattern and relationship for this particular learner, and go to awards. So this particular learner has achieved quite a few of these badges. Some are under writing. There's one for using technology. There's one for personal decision making, one for quantity and number. And if I click on view available awards, I can see that these are the awards that's available to them, but they haven't achieved any in this course yet. So when I go to content, I'll be able to see that, okay, that makes sense that they haven't achieved any awards because in the first lesson, they haven't done anything, 0 out of 13, and in all of these lessons. So if I want to go back to my home page again to see all the courses, I click on the home symbol. And then say, look at another course, like using technology. And if I click on content, I can see that they've done a lot more here, okay? So this is me logging in as the learner. Now, what I can also do is log in as the tutor within this center. Okay, so this is the login that you will get. Okay, so this tutor is enrolled in the courses, so you don't have to register for them. And if the tutor is seeing the same view very much as what the learner saw, so they would click on the course, they could click on content, and see all the lessons within that course. So it's the same view as the learners. The extra thing now that the tutor has is that they have this course admin. So when they click on that and click on class progress within this course using technology, this tutor could see all the learners who have logged into the system and what kind of content they've done or how far they've progressed within the content. Okay. Now, when the assessments are released, then grades will become available for the assessments as well. Okay. So that's, as I say, just something to bear in mind as well. So I can drill down into this by clicking on a particular learner. And then I can see, for example, their login history. So how many times they've logged in, the course access, so when they visited courses. And then if I click on content for this particular course, so this is using technology, then I see the lessons within this course. So there's 3 of them, and I see how far they've got on the lesson. Okay, so this particular learner, CW test, in the course using technology has done all of the first module and nearly done all of the second one, okay? But they haven't started anything on the third one. Now, the only downside to this platform from right on is that previously a learner used to get a stripy block if they didn't successfully complete the content. On this one, we don't have a way of showing that. But as a tutor, you can log in and you can have a look and see how they're progressing by clicking on the arrow here, where you get the details of each page or each activity that's within this lesson. And you can see how long they've spent on it. The tick means that they have been to the page and gone through it. Okay, but I'd be suspicious of somebody who just spent 0 seconds on a page, because it means that they probably didn't do the activity. So it does mean that learners can step through the content and visit the page and don't necessarily have to do anything. Okay, so that's just something to bear in mind. So you can check and see how they've done. This will be different for assessments because the assessment has to be graded. So they won't be able to just step through it. Okay, there'll have to be a grade given to it, and you'll be able to see those grades. So as I say, just to drill down into that again, if I wanted to look at a different course, I can go to my home page and then look at, say, pattern relationship, and then go to course admin, class progress, and then see my learner accounts. Okay, of course, starting off, you may not have any learners, you know, or it might be a while before they get to log in. So just to bear that in mind. These are all learner accounts that I've created previously, and you can see the amount of times that they have logged in. In this case, somebody's logged in a lot, and then I can see the amount of content that they have visited. So I can click on a particular learner, click on content, and then see each of the modules that's involved, how far they've progressed, and then click on the arrow to get the details of the time they've spent on it. Okay. So you'd be looking for, you know, obviously somebody who spent a minute or two on the actual activities. Some of the pages, because you may be wondering, well, why do they only spend 2 seconds here? If I click on the page, it'll bring me to the page. So in this case, it's a page of text. So there's no activity there to try. So just to go back to the slides, we were talking about the badges and the tutor login. And the assessments, there was a question that had come in about the assessments. We are hoping to have maybe the first 1 or 2 courses ready for assessment this month. There has been a little bit of delay. You know, also we're trying to get centres up and running and just get people familiar with the platform as well. But hopefully we will have some ready in May. As I've mentioned, I do recommend subscribing to the e-zine if you haven't already, because that'll give you the updates. And we'll also put the updates onto the courses page. So the courses page is that home page again. I go to courses.nala.ie, and if I go to start now, this is where I can get a list of my courses and the dates that they're coming out. So we can publish up here as well about assessments as well as the e-zine. Okay, so we'll just make information available there. The final thing to note about this site is that if you're interested in becoming a centre, in addition to emailing mou@nala.ie, you can click on Become a Centre and register your interest this way. So there's 2 ways of doing that. Okay, so the other links that are in here are for the tiny URL, the URL shortener. There's a link to our NALA site that has some information about the platform, and then a link to the outer part where you have to create an account and register learners for courses. So those are the links that are provided there, and I'll send them out after this today, and also the recording. So that's a brief introduction to the platform and getting started. I'm just going to stop the recording now and go through some of the questions.